Hey guys, Al Pullen here from Party Time DJ Services with my first speaker review of 2016. Now I know it's already the end of March, but things have been a little bit slower on the DJ side, and well, I've been quite happy with my speakers that I've been using, so I haven't been too curious to try out some new stuff. But I figured it was about time to review a different cabinet, so this time we're looking at Yorkville's PS10P. Now the Parasource line is one of Yorkville's newest lines. I did review the PS12P last year and was really impressed with it. Build quality is really solid. It comes with Yorkville's standard 2-year even if you break it warranty. But we're going to look at a little closer at the features found in the PS10P and how it compares to some of my other speakers, of which you might have seen reviews. So I did have a chance to compare all of these today. Not the Mario Kart radio control, but I did get a chance to compare all these speakers today. So I'll let you know what I think about the PS10P and how it compares to my other speakers. So basically the PS10P is an 800 watt powered speaker. There's a 1600 watts peak, but I don't usually look at the peak rating. So let's say it's a 800 watt powered speaker featuring a 10-inch woofer and 1-inch horn. Priced at $1,075 a piece. Now that's probably the first thing that most people will say, ooh, that's a little expensive for a 10-inch active speaker. I'm going to have to say you are correct. You have to keep in mind that these Parasource and most of Yorkville speakers are made in Canada, so that adds a little bit to the price. And of course the quality is there, definitely. Really solidly built speaker. And it comes with Yorkville's 2 years even if you break it warranty, so that's one thing that adds some value to it. 800 watts of power, 10-inch, 1-inch. I was hoping for the price that you'd get in, neodymium woofer. Unfortunately, it looks like it's a ceramic in there, and that would have actually helped because it is quite heavy. It's a 40-pound speaker for a 10-inch. That by today's standards, that's a little on the heavy side. Just comparing to my DBR12 here, which is a 12-inch and comes in at 34 or 35. So I already got an extra 5 pounds there. But it is a very good quality speaker, passive cooling, so no fans. The mixer section is quite decent. Mic in, combination 1/4-inch mic in. Your mic level, line level, your master level. You also have the parallel output. But one thing I really like to find on today's modern speakers is an extra input there. So we have the dual RCA inputs. Great to have, and you just want to do that quick connection and connect just an MP3 player and have a little sound system outside or a ceremony system or whatnot. So I'll turn this little speaker around. You can see the finish is really nice. I like the material, very scratch resistant, and they do feel solid, so that's definitely a plus. So I'll turn this bad boy around. Be back in just a minute. No, that wasn't some promotion for me. That's a concert I did last year, Christmas concert. Alright, anyway, so look at the PS10P from the front. Very nice, solid grille. Now that is my sump pump down there. We didn't have a lot of snow this year in Canada, so that's melting. So we got a lot of water coming in. Fortunately, the sump pump's taking care of it. Anyway, back to the speaker. Very solid grille in the front. Like I said, the build quality is exceptional. So even though it is priced higher than a lot of competitive speakers, I still think you're getting a nice, solid Canadian-made speaker here. So you're probably asking, so how does it sound, Al? How does it sound compared to your RCF 310As or your DBR12s? Well, DXR8s, it's kind of tough to compare 8s and 10s and 12s, but you can still get a good idea what the speaker is capable of, or just by having a quick listen to a variety of speakers with the same song and try to listen to them at the same level. That's one thing I never mentioned in my reviews, but when you're comparing speakers, especially in the store, a lot of people will just set speakers, gain, they'll set them all at 0, and then send the same signal to 2 or 3 or 4 different speakers, and they'll automatically think that the one is loud, that produces more, sound, is louder than the others, but that's not the fact. Because you need to know that different manufacturers have different settings for their gains and what they call gain sensitivity. So some speakers actually require more signal to reach a given amount of output. And this has nothing to do with their maximum SPL or maximum output. So that's something that people, you know, they'll go in the store, compare speakers, and they'll think that the one that's loud, or I've seen a lot of YouTube videos where people just compare and they say, well, this one's louder with this MP3 player plugged in, so it must be louder than the other ones. No, it has higher gain sensitivity. Anyway, now that I've got that out of the way, how does it sound? Well, just like the PS12P, this little PS10P has loads of bass, and not just in the club setting. I forgot to mention that. Just like in the PS12P, there's a club and there's live setting. And actually, there's just tons and tons of bass, even for a 10-inch. They really gone to town with the processing, or the low frequency processing in these boxes, just like the PS12P. I was extremely surprised by the PS12P. It's how bassy it was, and the PS10P is no exception. Because when you compare them to the, my 310As, little DXR8s, even to the DXR15s and DBR12s, these things actually hold up well, and they'll put out surprising amounts of bass, which is actually surprising coming from a 10-inch. The box is a little bit big for a 10-inch speaker, which probably helps it a little bit, but there's certainly some processing. Even I thought it would just be in the club mode, but even in the live sound mode, there's definitely some boosting between 55 and 70 hertz to get those deeper frequencies out there. Now that's great at lower levels, but I won't get into that right now. I'll just say overall, at lower volumes, the speaker sounds very nice, very hi-fi. Mid voicing it's almost a perfect blend of mids, nice top end and deep bass. It's a nice sounding box, and it's a nice sounding box at lower levels. And this is where my review turns, not for the worse, but there's just a little bit of criticism, because that's the thing. You can boost any speaker or any woofer to produce really nice deep lows. What happens though is that they'll reach their excursion limits a lot quicker. And then what happens is that there's multi-band sensing on this, and it'll make sure that the vocals are always coming out as clear, or the speakers are always as loud as possible at any given point. What happens is that there's so much bass in the sound right from the start, is that once you get the volume up there, the woofer is the first thing to limit. Or what they do is there's like a variable frequency filter that actually will filter those deeper frequencies. And as you move the volume up, what happens is that the mids and the highs will get louder, but the bass will stay exactly where it is, which leaves you with what I would say is more of an unbalanced sound, because you start off with a nice full sound, and as you keep pushing that volume up, it gets more and more top-endy and midi, and that's something that I don't experience from my other speakers. Because I'll just take the 310A for example. This is probably this is probably my reference 10-inch speaker. I've always loved the RCF 310A. Don't love the look of it, but it has a nice clean sound, and you can crank this thing up really, really loud, and it maintains that same sound, nice clarity. The woofer, although you're not getting all that bass right from the start, it's consistent and it's clean, and even at the top levels it still sounds just like it did at lower levels, just louder obviously. What happens with these Yorkville boxes, or when the processing is too strong in the low frequencies, and this is what happened with my NX55Ps as well. I haven't tested the new NX55P version 2, but what happens, they put a lot of that deep processing right from the get-go. Sounds great at lower volumes, and it almost sounds like you're using subs. Same with the PS12P, but as soon as that volume goes up, the woofer starts, well, I'm not going to say struggles, but it obviously the limiters kick in, because they got to protect that woofer. They have to protect it from over excursion. So a 10-inch, 8-inch, they can only put out so much bass. So that bass you start with is nice at lower levels. As soon as you crank that speaker louder, the bass stays at a certain level. Mids and highs get louder, and the overall sound just sounds unbalanced to me, and that's unfortunate, because I really like this speaker at lower levels. It sounds nice, full, crisp, and that crispness and mids still stay there, but I guess with subs you wouldn't notice as much. But trying to use these full range, which you shouldn't unless you have a really small party, it's just a better idea to always use them with subs, and that's probably the case with most smaller speakers. But I did compare all these. Basically, the 310A was probably my favorite sounding. I've always loved this speaker. Nice, consistent, crisp and just stays great and gets crazy loud for such a small speaker. The XR8, I loved it, but obviously it's an 8-inch, it's a compact box, so it produced nowhere near the amount of bass as the PS10P. It was okay. I mean, I always use it with subs, so it's not meant to use standalone. DBR12, this was my big surprise because this is a relatively cheap speaker from Yamaha. It's their cheapest line, DBR12, and the sound that these speakers produce was just fantastic. It didn't go quite as low as the PS10P, but man, did it ever get louder. Louder overall. I say louder because it kept its bass. It kept that bass going. It has a nice full sound to it, and it kept it as loud as I could get it in my studio here. I just tickled the limit lights, and it was really pounding. No hint of... didn't sound stressed. It sounded nice, clean, lots of bass. Problem with this is as soon as I passed a certain level, you could tell the bass basically almost disappeared, and it just sounded mids and highs. And it's unfortunate, because like I said, I really liked the speaker, but the clear winner of this shootout, I would say, is the DBR12. Especially at it's $549 each speaker, so for the price of one of these, you can get a pair of these. And honestly, used full range, they simply do much better. I know I'm comparing a 10 and a 12, but the difference is really notable at high volumes. But with subs, the Yorkville might come out, sounding a bit better. There is better, I'd say better mids coming from the Yorkville. Top end is similar. It's probably a slightly better horn in the Yorkville, but overall, it's unfortunate. I really like the PS12P. PS10P to me just doesn't represent a good value at $1,075. I'd say pay the extra $120 and get the PS12Ps. I like them much better than the PS10Ps. Not a bad sounding speaker, great for smaller stuff. If you do mostly spoken word and need some really loud speakers, that will sound good. If you need if you're playing some background music as well with your presentations, a great speaker, compact. Like I say, for the price, I just think the PS12Ps are a much better value, and actually the DBR12s are probably the best value of all at $549 a piece, 7-year warranty. So I've always loved Yorkville, great warranty, solidly built cabinet. I just think that I would like the speaker better if it had, they have the live and they have the club mode. I wish they had a flat mode where you actually just get the flat speaker that you can EQ yourself, because you can't take that deep processing off, and it's in there even with the live setting. Same thing with the PS12P. I would have liked a setting where you can just EQ it yourself at like a more flat setting. But anyway, so that's been a quick review and comparison of the Parasource PS10P. As mentioned, I would recommend the PS12P or PS15P as well for full range use. If you're using with subs, they should be great. Lots of power, but there's a lot more power in the PS12 and 15, so they just represent a better value to me. But it was a good time to compare all my speakers and see how they fare. And as mentioned, as much as I love my 310A, DXR8s with subs, but the DBR12 for DJ starting out and they want something nice and full range, DBR12 or DBR15 are just amazing values from Yamaha. So I'm going to have to keep recommending these. For those that want to spend a bit more and want a Canadian-made product that's really solid and sounds great, PS12P would be my recommendation for full range use in small parties. Other than that, you can get small tops and use subs. But anyway, Al Poulin's first review of PS10P from Yorkville. Next will be the NX55P version 2. See how it fits better than my original NX55Ps. I hope that they have improved. I can't wait to see, and we'll be back. Thank you. This has been Al Poulin from Party Time DJ Services.